Well, hello everybody. Danny back from Deepsouth Homestead. Back down in the condo. It's turkey season now here in the Deep South. I'm not turkey hunting. I love to watch the turkeys. I'm sitting here looking at the food plot. It's about that deep with, well, I'll say about 6 to 8 inches deep with green grass right now. And I haven't been feeding the turkeys this year. I usually feed them, but I haven't fed them this year. Just kind of letting them do their thing naturally. So we like to watch them. We like to know that they're here because normally they get killed out by coyotes and foxes, and the raccoons get them, and the nests and stuff like that because they nest on the ground. And I have lots of trash piles pushed up on the property, so they have places to get up under the edges of trash piles and stuff. And if you've watched our videos where we've showed you things through the woods, we showed you where things can nest and get up under little cubby holes and stuff like that. So we're excited that we actually have a good bit of wildlife here at Pecan Grove where I'm shooting this at. Now, I'm sitting here now watching the squirrels come out here. The squirrel's taking something running in the woods with it. But guys, if the weather's cloudy today. It's cool. It's not hot. Very pleasant outside today. Me and Miss Wanda's been spent the morning walking around, looking at our gardens. We actually harvested a good bit of stuff this morning. Y'all know I've told you we like to be able to eat daily from our properties. So we thought, what better thing than to come over here to Pecan Grove this morning and spend the morning at Pecan Grove just kind of meandering around, just looking at how the Lord has blessed us in a lot of different areas. And while we're doing it, see if there's anything we could find to eat. Well, we got some garlic scapes. We got 3 cabbages, I believe it was, carrots, and just spinach, different things that we have here. And what a blessing it was to be able to do that and to give God the praise and the glory for his goodness. Now, some of y'all tomorrow, or maybe even today, is going to be experiencing some severe bad weather in this country. And I think it's up above the 33rd parallel where I've mentioned dozens of times where the weather is going to be going. And staying, hopefully just above us here. Lots of hail, tornadoes, bad wind, stuff like that. I've told y'all about this many, many times. I'm not going to sit and harp on it. But if any of you has, if you don't know by now, most everybody does know by now, that we had a foreign container ship, hit the Francis Scott Key Bridge up in Baltimore and knock it down. I've got countless emails wanting to know my opinion on this. Well, I can almost guarantee you that it's terrorist backed. I would be willing to say 100% that it is. Just simply because we knew, my understanding is, now let me just say this is my understanding, we knew that a bridge was going to be hit. We didn't know exactly which one. And what kind of nailed that down for me is, the crazy thing, let me tell you how this works. The crazy thing is, I was up on the internet that morning when that happened. And I saw it right when it happened. And I don't know why the Lord allowed me to be awake to see that. I don't know. But it's a very unusual situation now. Now, we knew somebody was going to hit a bridge. And the reason I know that was accurate, that information that was given to me was accurate, was because when they called Mayday, Mayday, cops stopped traffic on that bridge within 2 minutes. Now, under normal circumstances, a cop would have had to have traveled to the bridge and then stopped the traffic. But they already had somebody on those bridges waiting. Now, I'm not going to go into details about it because you can watch the propaganda on the boob tube and find out what they want you to know. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about it. I mean, let's put it this way. We have some elected officials that are not loyal to this country that there's some speculation about. Okay, let me just put it that way. And you'll find out in time. There's no need for me to sit here and talk about it. In time, it will eventually, who they will want them. If they want them to be caught, their names will come out. But anyway, we know that the bridge was hit, and we know that we could possibly be facing right now, the information that I have is that we could be facing a couple of more of these. This is not the end. This is not an isolated event. Because as soon as that bridge was hit, just yesterday, which would have been Saturday, a bridge in Oklahoma was hit. Now, it didn't do the amount of damage that this one did, but it was hit. And, guys, how can I say this? This is only the beginning of sorrows to come. And we know that as a nation. There's been many events that's been stopped before they came to fruition that's not being talked about. So, where does that leave us at? And I always try to weigh everything out. Now, where does that leave us? Well, let's go back to what we've talked about before about being prepared as much as we can. Well, we now know that river up through there, which is one of the main ports for stuff to go in and out of those areas up in there. We now know that there's a big, big disruption in the supply chain, which is going to slow things down tremendously. And the thing that gets me is, for the longest, they never talked about that container ship also had hazardous chemicals on it. And that some of that stuff could possibly be leaching into the water. And there's people that water is used for drinking water. Which even further enhances where I'm actually going with this. So, now knowing that we have these situations that have arrived. This one hasn't arrived. We talked about in the past these things were going to happen. And I told you it's not if they happen, it's when these things start happening now. Because, guys, look, we have countries out there that hate us. They literally hate our guts. And they have actually made statements. America, you're going to burn. We're going to make sure of it. Every bit of your nation is going to burn. We're going to make sure of it. And, the country out there starts with an I. I'm not going to go into a lot of details about it. We know they don't like us, and yet we fund them with money and stuff. And we look at them as just a little old minute country off over there in the Middle East that we don't think much about them. But let me tell you something. They are as powerful as we are in a lot of ways. Not only that, they have the backing of other superpowers. And they hate us so much that they've put people into positions in our country in leadership that are descendants of theirs and Pakistani people that hate us, and they're going to do everything they can to make things look like stuff just happens over here, and they're in positions of authority, if you know what I'm talking about. So, where do we need to go with this? Well, I've mentioned in the past, guys, we need to be prepared. We need to be prepared for anything, literally anything. Is it possible to prepare for everything? And the answer is no. It's literally impossible because there's things out there that's been created that we don't even know about. that once unleashed, we have no immunities to. We have no way of knowing how or what's going to happen once they're released. It's kind of like AI. You know, when AI was first started, I'm not an advocate of Elon Musk, but Elon Musk did make a comment. He told me, he says, once y'all release this, there's no stopping it. And he was right. AI is now running its own self. It doesn't even need us now. I mean, it's basically taking over everything. And now that that's happening, we are going to face astronomical issues. Now, AI, believe it or not, my understanding, the information I've got, has already created cures for cancer. Now, isn't that great? But we can't have it. It's not ready to let us have it yet. So what do we do? What is the next best solution for dealing with this type of stuff? Well, one of the top things that we can do right now is we can start growing our own food. We can start preparing, doing the best that we can do. Now, I'm going to tell you why it's so important. And guys, I see my batteries fixing to give me some issues here, so I'm going to go as long as I can, and then I'll switch to batteries. So if there's a glitch in the thing, don't think anything about it. One of the things that we can do is grow our own food. And everybody goes, well, I go to a farmer's market, or I go to Azure Standard, or I go, I do this, I do that. I stock up. Well, I want to talk to you just a moment about an issue that I know about. I'm not happy about it. Believe me, I'm not happy about this. There is a company out there called Appeal. Now that's APEEL Sciences. Now, not to be confused with another company called Appeal that makes cleaners and stuff like that. It's not to be confused. This is two totally different companies right off the bat here. Appeal Sciences has created a product, and it's endorsed. Now, the fact that it's endorsed by the people that I'm fixing to tell you tells you to run. It's endorsed by Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, Katy Perry. These are big investors in this company. Well, Appeal uses two different product names, my understanding is. One called Eddie Peel, and the other one called Organic Peel. Now, this is used on both organic food and on non-organic food from a grocery store. Now, I know from what I've researched that I've been given on it, they use it on cucumbers and citrus fruits and mangoes and avocados and stuff to this nature. And what it does is, it is a protective coat. I'm just going to kind of paraphrase my understanding of it. It's a protective coating that is put on the fruits and vegetables that extends their shelf life possibly up to a couple of months so that they don't go bad. Now, if you're a grocery store owner, this sounds great, because the produce is sitting on your shelf, hey, it's not going to go bad, but it is not healthy for the human system. Is it something that we should be steering clear of? Yes, it is something we should be steering clear of big time. You can go look at different, when you go to the grocery stores, and the crazy thing about it is they don't have to label it. That's what irritates me to no end. We have people out here who cannot get out and grow any of their stuff, and they go to the store and they're trying their best to live healthy. They're trying their best to do the best that they can. And now the people who have the money and is financing these programs, and supposedly it's non-GMO, it's all natural, it's made from plant-based products and stuff like this, but yet it's extracted using I can't think of the chemical name right now, but it starts with a hex. It's hex something right now. I got about 1,000 things going through my mind this morning. Hexane. I'll get it out. It's used to extract these chemicals out of these products out of these plants and stuff, which is extremely toxic to the human system. It's kind of like decaffeinated coffee, where they use toluene and to extract the caffeine out, and it is quote unquote is perfectly harmless until you heat it above a certain temperature. And we all know coffee heats above that temperature, and then that chemical becomes active in coffee again, which makes it very dangerous to drink. Now, that's why Swiss waterpress coffee is always great. But now, getting back to the peel, or eddy peel, is what it's used on vegetables, and organic peel is what's used on organic produce. Once again, just like we talked about with the sweet corn here a while back, the marketing issues. I hate marketing. I literally hate marketing, because it is nothing more than a psyop. It is lies. It tells half of the truth, and they're poisoning us, and they're just destroying our bodies little by little, any way they can, in the name of progress. And guys, it just irritates me to no end to see them doing this to our food system. That's why I keep telling people, please grow your food. Quit going to these places and buying. Now, Ms. Wanda, I give you for instance, Ms. Wanda, the doctor, when we were there, told us that she, her iron was low. We really need to raise her iron. And he advised her, please eat at least one apple a day. And in the deep south where we live at here, it's not apple season. And our apple trees aren't big enough to bear apples here. So we're sitting here. I told Wanda, I said, well, we can go get some organic apples, Well, come to find out, they could possibly have a peel on them. So we had to do some research and find out that Joyfully Grown is a company that literally states that their products does not have a peel on them. They're non-GMO, they have no appeal or anything like that used on them. So I told her, I said, there's no chemicals sprayed on and stuff like that. So I told her, I said, well, at least, maybe, this is kind of helpful and helpful for you to eat, right now, till we can do better. It's so sad that we have to go do tons of research into something in a grocery store before we can even consume it, knowing that it's healthy for us to eat. The day of just going to a grocery store and going around through the produce department saying, oh, look at this beautiful produce, that's over. Because that's what a peel does. A peel makes those citruses and cucumbers and avocados and mangoes and stuff like that, it makes them look so appealing because they look perfect. It makes them look perfect. What person wants to go in a grocery store and pick up something and go, oh, this don't look good, I ain't eating that. And you see this beautiful one sitting there and you go, oh, look at this, it looks so healthy. It's a lie. Guys, it's a lie. And it irritates me to no end that it's a lie. And I hate it. I literally hate it, but there's nothing I can do about it. All I can do is sound the whistle that it's out there. And it's up to you, just as like it was up to us when we go into a store, that we've got to really do the research to be able to figure out if this food is fit to eat, or are we doing more damage to our system by ingesting this stuff than if we did not ingest it. That's where we're at. Wanda and I advocate, please, permaculture. If I could preach permaculture more and more and more, I would. Because permaculture is the only thing that's going to keep you alive in the near future. Because literally, you're going to have stuff stuck in the landscape. Go back and look at Gideon in the Bible. Read the story of Gideon, for heaven's sakes. Gideon was living during a time in which they were going around confiscating all the food and everything. And Gideon was literally taking what little wheat he had grown secretly, and he had took it not to where the threshing floor was, because that's where they were watching everybody, to take what they had. Gideon was at the olive press, threshing his wheat, when the angels came to him. See, he was hiding, trying to keep what food he could for his family. And guys, that's where we're at. That's why permaculture is so vitally important. You need to grow forever plants. Now, I don't eat artichokes, the Jerusalem artichokes, but hey, if you love them, they're a great forever plant. You need to plant things like blueberries and grapes and your perennial plants, your herbs. You need things like rosemary, thyme, things, mints that are just invasive, that just grow, you know. And they look like part of the landscape. You know, put your stuff in the landscape and make it look like part of the landscape so that people don't readily associate it with something from a grocery store. If it looks like it comes from a grocery store, they may take it from you. But if they don't readily recognize it, that's why permaculture is so great out in the woods. You just look out in the woods and you go, well, it just looks like woods to me. But to the trained eye who has put stuff in specific places in the woods, it is a food source for those people. Like in our woods around here, we have huckleberries everywhere. You know, I mean, we can eat huckleberries. We got blackberries. I mean, lots of people don't want to pick the blackberries because they got thorns all over them. But you know what? Why don't you pick a few spots out on your property, if you own property, and go put some of the thornless blackberries out there and let them grow up, and people will say, well, I'm not messing with things. They got thorns all over them. Well, not every one of them would have thorns on them, if you know what I mean. Stick stuff in the landscape. I mean, your rosemary, stick it off out there in the edge of the field or something like that. It loves being abused and left alone, you know. Throw you some... I got friends who plant potatoes just wild right out in the woods, and they just leave them. They don't even harvest them. And every so often they go out there and just casually dig a couple of them up, because lots of times they won't go bad if you just leave them in the ground. I mean, I know people who do that with sweet potatoes. They do the same exact things with sweet potatoes. They just leave a few in the ground just in case. And if they lose all they got, and next year where those were at, lots of times the slips come back up from the ones from before. Now your Oriental varieties, they call them, they're not really Oriental, all of them, but your Okinawa sweet potatoes or your Musaki sweet potatoes, or a lot of your dark purple sweet potatoes, you can't kill those cotton picking things. You put them in the ground and they just stay there for years, you know. So you need forever plants. Garlic. We use the garlic here in the South a lot where we're at. You know, I mean, that's part of our forever plant. Multiplying onions. We just have them stuck in the landscape all around. People don't think too much about that kind of stuff when they see it, because that is definitely, not only is it a medicinal plant, but it is also something that you can eat and enjoy, because it puts good flavoring in something. Now, I get a big kick out of Ms. Wanda. We stored up some taco seasonings that was gluten-free, GMO-free, and all that kind of stuff here years ago. And I told her, I said, why are you buying up all this taco seasoning? And she said, well, the way I look at it, now you got to know Ms. Wanda, you have to know her sense of humor. The way I look at it, if I got to eat a bunch of squirrels or something that I don't particularly care for the taste of, if I mix a little taco seasoning in with it, it kind of just masks that wild taste of an animal, you know. And I'm like, hey, you know what? That's not a bad idea, because there was a point in my life where I was supposed to, I told them I would cook the gumbo for a function at a church up in central Mississippi, and I was originally going to make sausage gumbo, but everybody eats sausage gumbo, you know, and I was chicken gumbo. Everybody has chicken gumbo, and I was thinking, So I went to work on that. I made this big, huge pot of gumbo, and I had all this meat in it. Everybody at the church was just gobbling it down. You know what I mean? They said, man, this is some of the best gumbo I've ever eaten, you know. And later that evening, after everything was over, we were cleaning up, somebody said, man, that's the best gumbo I ever eat. Said, What in the world? Man, I didn't even bring a gun with me, and look at that. There's crow sitting right here. But asked me, said, what in the world did you put in that gumbo to make it so good? I said, well, I went yesterday and I killed 17 squirrels and I skinned them out and I boiled them until I got all the meat off the bones, and then I put the meat over in the gumbo and seasoned it up in there, and that's what y'all had today, squirrel gumbo. Well, some people it didn't bother, but other people's like, what did you do? And I'm like, what do you mean, what did I do? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, you ate it. You loved it. It's a psychological thing, and which it was. And that's kind of what Miss Wanda was talking about with the taco seasoning. You know, she was kind of like, taco seasoning makes even squirrel taste good, you know. So, and I'm sitting here looking at squirrels on the ground. I don't know if I can actually get this around here to where you guys can see. Well, he ran away. Never mind. He saw me moving in the shoot house, I reckon. But, guys, that's where we're at. You know, these attacks are not going to stop. Okay? They're going to continue. And these people have a vendetta against us. They don't plan on stopping. The ball is rolling. I'm not so much worried about weaponry right now as I am with the sun. Guys, the sun, and you may not find this on the tube anywhere. I don't know. But the sun is doing some really, really crazy things now. And it's not going to get better. Okay, I don't want to be, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom here. To me, knowledge is power. And the more knowledge I can put out there for someone and to help them prepare even better means that they're going to make it. You know, the scripture, what is it in Ecclesiastes, says a wise man, or Proverbs or Ecclesiastes, one or the other, says that a wise man or a prudent man sees the destruction coming and he makes provisions for it. Now, if I can help you to see something coming and you can make provisions for it so that when it happens, you're not sitting there going, in the what if scenario, what do I do now? But yet you look at it and you go, well, I'm glad I'm prepared for this one, you know. That's my goal. I want to tell you stuff so that you can be better prepared. And remember I told y'all here way a while back, look up, one of my videos, look up. It's fixing to happen. As a matter of fact, it has already started happening. If we're not careful in the near future, well, not if we're not careful, but if things continue to progress in outer space the way that they're progressing now with the magnetosphere, which you're going to start seeing an uprise in depression, anxiety, madness, schizophrenia, war, because of the magnetosphere around the Earth right now is doing some really, really crazy things. And I could go into it and to explain how two magnets work and how, you know, not that this video is not about that. You're going to start seeing these kind of things happening. And guys, don't be surprised. Be prepared. Get prepared. Grow your own food. Do permaculture. Grow forever plants. Stuff that just keeps giving, you know, year after year after year. Perennials. Grow perennials in the landscape. Do what you need to do, guys, to survive. And be prepared, because more of these things are coming in different shapes and different forms in our country, because the enemy hates us. So I'm going to leave you with that. I love you and I appreciate you. And please watch us to see how we do what we do. Thank you, guys, from Deep South Homestead.